The Spartans said they were tougher. The Spartans said they would flinch. And they did.
What's up, everybody? I am Owen Ozis. Alongside me is my co-host for tonight, Jack Kajowski with SD4L. I don't know. They kind of know me. Jack, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
What's up, everyone? I'm Jack Kajowski. I'm Owen's roommate. We both go to Michigan State, and it's a pleasure to be on the show tonight.
Yes, sir. We got a big-time guest in the building. Well, not in the building, but he's calling in. The one, the only, the king, chief of propaganda. He is the king of Twitter for Michigan State, over 17K Twitter followers. Chief, how are you doing?
I could not be better. I'm thriving on this beautiful Wednesday evening. I appreciate you gentlemen for having me on. Really, really looking forward to this.
Chief, you're just like you're so positive. You're just like a ray of sunshine. Every time I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm doubting Michigan State, and sometimes I do it a lot. You know, I'm thinking, wow, man, we lost again or something like that. And then I'm like, you see a tweet from Chief of Prop, and it's always, you know, we're still going to build from this, stuff like that. And my first question to you is, how do you stay so positive and motivated about this football team?
Yeah, I kind of think that it comes with experience of understanding what it takes to be a championship program. Seeing the team kind of build up and win Big Ten titles, make the playoff runs, and all things like that. And you see the process of what leads somebody to get there. I would say I personally enjoy in my own life, as well as watching Michigan State, is really the process of becoming great. And with that comes a lot of times you're going to kind of get your butt kicked and you're going to get knocked to the floor, but it's all about the process of getting up and kind of improving from that. So that's something I enjoy doing.
No, I mean, I respect that. I mean, I'm the same way with that. I guess for the people that don't know, can you kind of give your background and story of how you got 17,000 followers on Twitter and just really embraced Michigan State, and now everyone just talks about Chief of Propaganda when it's MSU Twitter?
Yeah, so I really got my start on Twitter. I'll start kind of with that angle. I hope I don't get canceled for this, but the only reason I created my Twitter was to follow Kanye West when he was dropping the Life of Pablo. He was doing everything through Twitter, like the announcements. So that's the only reason I created this. And things have kind of flipped now where that's not the reason I'm on there. So yeah, it's solely Michigan State. So that's kind of the backstory of why I have Twitter. My friends actually used to joke with me. They're like, they'd see my Twitter and it had like 50 followers for 3 years, and they're like, oh, it's Brett just talking to a wall again. And I would just like, yeah, that's true. Like, nobody follows me or whatever. And then I don't know what happened, and now we're kind of at where we're at. And yeah, the love for Michigan State came just from being a student there and enjoying my time. And I think even post graduate, you really start to appreciate the school more.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, did you grow up a Spartan? Were you always a Spartan fan?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because I wasn't necessarily a fan of just one school. Growing up, I had a lot of different. I used to wear Oregon a lot. The reason I did that was because they beat the school down the road in like 2006. They went in there with like Dennis Dixon and absolutely mollywopped them. And so I'd always rock Oregon. I loved Texas, USC. So I was kind of all over the place with the fandom. I say we go out the hook 'em.
Yeah.
I'm putting it down.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, I may or may not be a big Texas fan, but not over my Spartans though. But you know, on the side.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a second favorite team.
Oh, for sure. Great uniforms.
Right. I mean, are you going to be... so is Oregon your second favorite team then? And are you okay flipping Dante to Michigan State?
Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for them.
I guess my biggest question for you, and you're obviously chief of propaganda, not the greatest of football years, and I just said we talked about how positive you are. What would be your pitch for recruits to come to Michigan State and really trust the process and that Mel Tucker is that guy?
Yeah, so the big thing would be playing time. You see it all the time with transfers coming in, recruits, that if you come here and you're the best player, you're going to play. There's no, at the quarterback position, there's no Drake May in the way. At wide receiver, you don't have that Jackson Smith and Jigba in the way of you starting. So you're going to have a chance to come here, make your. I mean, you even look at with the NIL stuff. We have guys making tons of money through that, and look at what Kenneth Walker did. He came in, trusted the process, won the job. Now he's one of the top 5 backs in the NFL, and that's due to in part to Michigan State.
It is. I mean, Jack, I want you to ask the question about Caton because,
Let's go.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, going into next year, there's a lot of question marks on this MSU football team that need to be answered, and the biggest one is sort of this quarterback position battle that's going to go on with Caton Hauser and at my boy P. Shiesty, otherwise known as Peyton Thorne. So my question to you is that kind of competition, as you just stated, usually we don't have the big monsters standing ahead of kids from getting into that starting spot, but is that kind of competition a good thing for this program moving forward?
Yeah, I think especially at the quarterback position, having a competition is the most important thing we can have. I think we even saw that with what would you call him, P. Shiesty, in 2021 when they brought in Russo. I mean, it was pretty much myself and a lot of the fans. We all just kind of assumed that, hey, they're bringing in Russo to be the guy, and then Thorne had to compete day in and day out, and he won that job. And I think having that guy behind him, pushing him, that, hey, I know the guy behind me, if I make a mistake, he's going to come in and take this job. I think that mentality is what leads to guys performing at their highest level. So competition all throughout the roster is insanely important to me. And looking at the competition next year, I mean, Caton Hauser, he's had competition his entire high school career. He's the only quarterback who's ever been ranked in the top 200 who has never been the sole starter at quarterback for a high school team. So he is in a very unique situation where he's always had to fight for every single rep. And just kind of knowing his situation a bit and speaking to him a few times, I mean, that's something he truly enjoys is competing. And I think that the opportunity to do that at a big-time program and kind of make his mark, it's something that's going to cause him to be probably one of the best quarterbacks we've ever had.
I got to ask you, biggest question out there. Michigan State will win the Big Ten championship blank year, and what year will they win the national championship?
Yeah, so they're going to win the Big Ten in 2025. Or, I'm sorry, 2024. And then they'll win the national championship in 2025. So it's kind of that the same. I think when they win the Big Ten, they will win the national championship that season as well, which would be 2025. So I think we're going to have next season probably rise up to probably 9 wins, 9 or 10. We'll rise to grace, and then from there, that's when the butterfly is going to come out of the cocoon and fully show the world, and it's going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I love that analogy. It's honestly great. I'm going to say this right now. Obviously, they just expanded to 12 teams. Chief, can you even fathom the playoff atmosphere that the Woodshed would host if it was Michigan State versus whoever, first round college football playoff, Spartan Nation? Would you be there, and where are you at in the building?
Yeah, so I'm currently in the Woodshed. You guys know I don't leave there. So thinking about that first playoff game, I mean, a question for you guys. I mean, were you at the Penn State game last year where we had the game?
We both were. Yeah, Jack was up in this.
Absolutely electric atmosphere,
dude. It was awesome.
Honestly, one of the most fun sporting events I've ever been to. It was just great, and it just made me love this school even more.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that, but you have, like, Florida coming up for that. And just knowing what, like, those Southern teams never come up past, like, Alabama.
Right.
I mean, they come here in a snowstorm, they're gonna get the hurt put on them. So just having like a couple weeks to lead up to that, I mean, listen, I got some ideas of what we could do to get the crowd getting going a little bit. I would put fireball shooters under every single seat, responsibly. I mean, it needs to be the most hostile, like the ancient Mayan ball games, like Apocalypto. I want it looking like that. It needs to be hostile, crazy. All black uniforms, black out the stadium, and we'll have enough tunnel security.
That's that's what all that matters, right? Is that everyone is safe at the end of the day. Everybody gets to the locker rooms. There's no players going to use the bathroom or whatever,
Well, we wouldn't have that problem in the Woodshed Tunnel.
Right. I mean,
no, it's beautiful. We're actually a source tells me there may be an announcement coming the next few days that the Woodshed may be winning an award for the safest tunnel in the world.
Are you serious?
I mean, the Tunnel Association, they're meeting and deliberating hard, and we'll see kind of what they have. But yeah, some rumors are starting to leak out that Woodshed may be winning an award here.
Right. I mean, and the fact that the one thing that I can't get across is that it's all down the same tunnel. Like, it's not like, Ohio State where Michigan State has to go to the away tunnel and then Ohio State goes to the home tunnel. It's the same tunnel you're walking through. Last year, very hostile environment, but there was no fight, as far as I'm aware. I don't know did you see one in last year? Michigan State?
No.
Okay. I was just checking. Yeah, I think, and then obviously you're a big proponent for Michigan State, and you're obviously on social media. You're a big reason for it, and Michigan State Twitter is very powerful. They're out there in waves and whatnot, but it's not even close to compared to what Michigan and the Blue Wave does with media in general. Is there any kind of thoughts you have on that particularly?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the reason why that kind of blue wall it kind of exists is because most of the coverage of sports in this area, it's the old school paper. You got the Detroit News, the Free Press. Those are the two big ones. Nobody reads them live. Oakland Press. Listen, I don't even know if they still print it. They might be out of ink. I don't know if they pay the bills to keep the lights on, but that's neither here nor there. But no, I just think it's disingenuous the way that a recent example with I'm not going to name the player, but we all know who it is, when he got arrested. And listen, if I knew about that, I'm just some random dude who talks shit on Twitter for all day. Like, if I'm hearing this before the Michigan State Michigan game, these reporters, they know it too. And listen, we know why they're not reporting it. We know why all the facts are coming out slow. We know it's because if they talk about this stuff, they're going to lose access to that program, and that's their cash cow. I mean, I'm not going to use the cult word, but I mean it's about as close to a cult that fan base is. And I mean, you see it. I mean, they make a pilgrimage to Bo Schembechler's grave and smash Buckeyes on it. Like, that's clinically insane. I mean, that's the stuff I tweet about mocking. And I mean, yeah, so the reason that exists is because it's the old guard, but on the positive is that's a dying platform. Nobody reads the papers anymore. It's all kind of these independent organizations, kind of like Woodward Sports, where they come up and they kind of branch out and do different things. And you have podcasts and people like Justin Thind who are out there, Justin Spiro, who do their own shows. And I mean, I think that's kind of the new wave of media that is going to allow different fans and different programs, whether it be Michigan State, like Central, to get their own messaging out there without having that blue wall kind of stand in the way and be state media.
I agree. The Block M has been around for so long, and they've done an excellent job. I have to credit them to that. They've really done a phenomenal job with their media, and Michigan State, they're working on it. We're still trying, and I fully believe that we can get there. Just got to stick with the process and everything like that. I guess my final question to you, Michigan State basketball. I don't know if you're watching right now, but it's currently on, almost over.
Oh, what's the score?
62-56, minute 22 left. MSU's leading. But what are your thoughts on Tom Izzo, this team, and the recruiting class coming into next year? Do you think maybe in 1 to 2 years this basketball team could be competing for a national championship as well?
Yeah, so I'm still really optimistic about this team. I think just based off of what we saw versus Gonzaga, clearly Kentucky, and then even Villanova when we were healthy. I mean, you saw us go toe-to-toe with two teams that are going to be competing for a national championship, and then a Villanova squad who's missing their best player. But, I mean, they still have a lot of guys from last year who made the Final Four. Obviously, new coach and whatnot, it's going to be difficult, but that's still a really good program. So I'm still optimistic about this year. Maybe we're not going to be necessarily winning a national championship, but I mean, the pieces are there for when this recruiting class comes in next year, that they can kind of just be insulated in with all these veteran leaders and great players like Jaden Akins and AJ Hogarth and whatnot. 35 minutes and average 20 points to be good. Like, you can play him 25 minutes, and that's going to make all the difference in the world, because you look at these championship winning teams, and yeah, they do have star freshmen, but they're not reliant on them for all their points. So having a veteran-laden roster that you can insulate these young guys in, that's what's going to lead to a really successful few-year run here. Because, listen, the 2023 class is great. I think the 2024-25 classes, they're going to be at the same level. So Coach Izzo, he's created a nice runway to kind of land his career on. And, I mean, the Final Four is coming to Detroit in, 2027? And I think the goal, I mean, the expectation for all Spartans is that Coach Izzo does win his second in that time frame. Because I do think, I mean, after 27, I don't know if he's still going to be the coach here, just based off of age and how
that's
it's
fair.
Evolving and whatnot. But that's kind of my viewpoint of it all.
I respect it. Chief, thank you so much for your time. You are awesome as always. Everyone, if you're not following MSU Chief of Propaganda on Twitter, what are you even doing? You know, is there anything else you want to plug, Chief?
No, I want to thank both of you for having me on. You guys, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the show, and just know, like, use this opportunity for your own benefit and see if this is something you guys want to do moving forward. And just know if you ever need anything from me, Spartan Nation, just feel free to ask. And hey, let's try to hit up that game on January 7th with the school down the road when they come in. I'll be up there for it.
All right.
We're gonna be hitting.
I'll be there. I'll just say that. But I'm excited. Yeah. Are you gonna go to hockey this on Friday?
Yeah, I'll be up there. So
okay.
If I'm there, I'll hit you up. Yeah. So maybe
it's a big one.
Hit up some after and whatnot. So yeah, let's have some fun.
Let's go, baby. Let's keep shopping. You got me pumped up, Chief. Thank you so much for your time, man. If what you say is true, Michigan State 2025, can you imagine a national championship?
I would do a lot of things for a Michigan State national championship within the next few years. Like,
so would I.
A lot
so
of
would
things.
I, and none of them can be said. Yeah, none of them can be said on this. It would have to be on it needs to be like the dark web. That I would do stuff to get on that. So, I'm in full agreement with you guys. So,
right.
Thank you guys.
Chief, would you make an OnlyFans if MSU won the national championship?
Yes. I mean, I would. You put me in Squid Game, Saw. Listen, what is Coach? It takes what it takes, and if you need me to be working on camera for a national championship, listen, I'll do it.
You're awesome, Chief. All right, I'll see you next week, baby.
Thanks for coming on, Chief.
All right,
that was. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. That was Chief of Propaganda checking in. I'm just saying, Brian and Justin have talked about having him on for a long time, but you know what? It's me that gets him on, so I consider that an accomplishment. But let's flip it over. Let's dive right into the biggest one for us. You know, our favorite player, honestly, on Michigan State football to finish off the season, Bryce Behringer. He's up for Ray Guy Award. If you look at that right there, he just won the fan vote winner, which obviously doesn't matter as much as winning the actual award. But
we found out that fan votes didn't matter much for those kind of awards. You know, when our guy should have took it home last year, Kenneth Walker. But I think that he could do it this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out real soon. But Bryce, just an awesome human being. Really, really good at golf. We had him on a few weeks ago. But he was roommates with James Pyatt. I'm really excited. I hope he gets at least a deal with an NFL team. I think he certainly deserves it. I mean, I would love to have him on the Lions. Jack Fox is great and everything, but Bryce Behringer, we will miss you. But you're always a Spartan Dog for life. Speaking of Spartan Dogs as well, let's take a look at the year's captains.
Captains, number 99, senior putter, Bryce Behringer. 24, senior running back, Elijah Collins. Number 3, senior safety, Xavier Henderson. And number 10, quarterback, Peyton Thorne.
All great guys that really contributed to this program.
Absolutely.
Xavier Henderson, for me, biggest guy I'm going to miss. I mean, the atmosphere of him being in the locker room every single week when he was healthy for this football team, and you saw it out there as well. When he wasn't out there, defense was not the same. When he comes back for the Michigan game, every game after that was absolutely massive. He was here since the D'Antonio days. He played his heart and soul out every single snap. X, we're going to miss you. You're a Spartan Dog for life. I wish you the best. I hope you can get an NFL offer as well. But, man, you will be missed for sure.
You just always big plays, man. That's what I'll remember. Especially this season, coming in, forcing that fumble on Chase Brown. Really changed the momentum in that Illinois game. And just an absolutely fantastic player. Not too many guys like him around. You're definitely going to miss a guy like that. And
right. I mean, and then Elijah Collins, a guy that as well had been around for quite a long time, and he stuck it out. I mean, he had to sit behind Kenneth Walker. You had the Killer Bees come in with Jarek Broussard and Jalen Berger, but you know what? He stayed here. He didn't transfer. He was very loyal throughout the entire process. And honestly, I thought he had a really good year for Michigan State football. Didn't have as many snaps as maybe he should have had, but you know what? Either way, he took advantage of every opportunity. He will definitely be missed.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm so happy. Like, to finish off, like you said, not having as many opportunities as he probably should have, and still running for 6 touchdowns. And some of those runs, if you're watching the games, made you say, why isn't this guy getting more carries? You know? And like you said, he stuck around. He stuck around, and he capped off on a high note, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and obviously, the other guy in that video we just talked about, Bryce Behringer. But I mean, just to touch a little bit more on his story, a guy that was at Illinois, transferred over, was ultimately off the roster, and then right before Tucker came back, he was added, and then from there, just he took off, came out of nowhere, was fantastic last year for Michigan State, and then yet this year, just as good, even better, some might say, and I really hope he wins Ray Guy Punter Award because I think he truly deserves it, and he was always that kind of guy that, your offense goes 3 and out, your kind of momentum's killed, and then he just boots one, puts it inside the 10, and it's massive every single time.
It's an absolute game changer to have a guy like that on your team. And last year, he was doing it last year. Sometimes things would get stagnant, but you never worry when you're putting punts within the 10,
right,
the 5 even, and he was doing that on a more than consistent basis. And he was just, honestly, he was a weapon. And I think he had a great career here. He finished off this season. He led the nation in punting yard average by a substantial margin. Led the Big Ten by. The next guy was Jesse Mirko out of OSU at 45.6 yards per punt. Bryce was at 49.
Yeah,
so that's more than a considerable margin. So I think he's done everything to get that award, bring home the Ray Guy, and absolutely fantastic season for him.
Yeah, it's just up to the voters at this point. And the other Spartan Dogs, just look at on Twitter, some we already knew that we're going to leave. Jacob Slade did ultimately decide to go to the NFL draft, but you get a look at Kendall Brooks, Daniel Barker, Ben Van Smeren, Jarek Broussard, Matt Carrick, Slade, and Horse. All will be very missed. All exemplified awesome qualities of what it's like to be a Spartan dog. Kendall Brooks, the D2 transfer, came here, made a huge impact for Michigan State, filling in immediately. I mean, when Snow and Xavier went down, he needed to step up in a big way, and he definitely filled that out for Michigan State. And I think I want to touch on something. Ben Van Smeren, he obviously his brother's still here, and hopefully he can get some good playing time with Michigan State in the future. But Ben was a guy that entered the portal, and then ultimately he was persuaded to come back, went out there, just looked. And I think the biggest thing to think about is even if you are in the portal, there's still the chance you do come back. So you do see some of these guys entering the portal for Michigan State. Doesn't mean that they are ultimately gone. They can still come back. That's remains to be seen. But for Michigan State, it's all about those roster spots right now and getting those spots, because you got to believe Mel Tucker and this coaching staff, I can confirm, are going out there and pursuing the portal extremely hard, as well as recruiting. Like Justin Thinn last night talked about it. The fact that Michigan State was only able to, well, they only lost one 4-star in their recruiting class throughout the entire season, and everyone else stayed the course. It was all about the fact that they believed in what Tucker was pitching them during the offseason, and I'm excited to see what that recruiting class can do, as well as the guys that are coming in the portal. Obviously, way too soon to say, all right, we're going to get this guy, and this guy, but you better believe that Michigan State is looking to improve dramatically next year.
Oh yeah, and it's like you said, it's still very early. No major red flags, no alarms need to be sounded off for guys, and like you said, guys entering the portal. But things, Mel Tucker and the coaching staff, they do have to hit it hard. We got some major replacements, and if further people decide to enter the portal and go elsewhere, then it's just next man up mentality. Who can we bring here? Who can we get? Even recruiting wise, have another good year recruiting. That's kind of the biggest thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to be going, I'm assuming you're looking for running backs. Broussard and Collins are both leaving the program. And from that point on, Michigan State, they want to get a guy that can be, I want to say the next Kenneth Walker, but a guy that can really fill in. I mean, you're going to get a better offensive line. That's the position that they're heavily pursuing at the moment as well. They want to improve both sides of the football on the line, because that's where it really starts, in the trenches. I think that for Michigan State, if they can do that, then you open up so many more possibilities, because I fully believe we still have those wide receivers. Obviously, Jaden Reed's gone, and he will be missed, but Keon Coleman, that dude absolutely balled. Every single opportunity he got, whether it was Washington, even from his first ever touchdown at Ohio State, you could just tell this guy is here to ball. And you got guys like Jeremy Bernard, the possibility of maybe Trey Mosley returning, as well as other guys that are freshmen right now or in the portal as well. I'm really confident in the wide receiver core. I think it's just about getting them that protection and also establishing that run game as well.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned either about the passing game. I think we'll have, whoever ends up winning that quarterback battle, I have confidence in. Absolutely. We've seen what Peyton Thorne can do, and we're all excited to see what Caden can do if it's his turn this year. But it's Big Ten football, You got to run the dang ball. There's, nothing else other than that. You got to start with that, filling out those guys in the line. Obviously, that was a position that, there's some improvements that could be made there.
Right.
Absolutely. And getting another back in the program is huge too. Having fresh legs, and it all starts from there. And like we saw when we did have a fantastic run game last year, it just opened up so many more options for us. We were much more dynamic offense in that regard, and things flowed a lot better. So getting back to that, obviously it's hard to replace a guy like Kenneth Walker. That's very special player there. but it's just sort of filling in, getting a few guys, seeing what works, and getting back to, what we want to be.
Right, and you got to fully believe. And I think for the biggest thing for the people that want Mel Tucker gone, and after, year 3, you obviously had a huge last year. But you go back, Kenneth Walker took that program in Michigan State to a whole nother level and really just bumped up the process, because it's still going up, but at the moment, because he was that guy, took this program to just a different standard.
It was almost like a premature kind of jump. Obviously, when a new coach comes in, you want immediate success as a fan, as a player. If you can go 11-2, then absolutely you're going to say, I'm going to go 11-2. Right. But there's a process to these things. Kirby Smart coming into Georgia, it took a while for him to get to the level that they're at now. It takes a program years and years to build. So that kind of season, which happened last year, while we want that to be the norm here at Michigan State, it's going to take more than just one player like it did with Kenneth Walker. It's going to have to be a system that is going to take years to establish.
No, I definitely agree. And what's up to Mike G in the chat? He wants to know who do I think is going to start at quarterback next year, Thorne or Kim? I think it's going to be Caden Hauser. I think everything I've heard is very positive about this kid and the potential. He was obviously a freshman this year, so he got in at the Akron game. Didn't see much playing time this year. Obviously, he was on the sideline, but observing, getting better. I heard he has a really high IQ guy, and Chief talked about him as well. I'm excited. I think there's the possibility of him winning the quarterback battle. If not, then it will most likely be Peyton Thorne. But either way, whoever's at quarterback, you got to believe they're going to have those weapons around them to succeed. So it's purely up to whether they feel like Caden Hauser is that guy, or Peyton Thorne is he going to take up another step and try to keep getting better. He personally believed, and he said it, I believe, on Twitter, or he said it somewhere. I think it was a press conference, actually. He said he believed he actually got better this year, that he improved.
And that, that's just exactly what you want to hear. You don't want someone coming out and saying, well,
right.
I got worse. No, absolutely not. He showed that confidence. He said, I'm still the same player I was when Kenneth Walker was here. And if that's the case, then, I have absolute confidence that he can return to that level and have the kind of season that he did have. And if that's the case, then I have no problem with him being QB1 again, because he played very fantastic at times.
Yeah, so that all remains to be seen, but I want to move on real quick. I think, obviously, we haven't really talked on this show that much about it, but Michigan State hockey, I want to throw up the graphic right here, is playing Michigan at Munn Ice Arena Friday, 6:30. I know Jack's going to be there. He got his ticket.
It's going to be electric.
It is. I fully believe it will be sold out. Spartan Nation, if there's still tickets available, go get them, because this Michigan State program is on the uprise. What Adam Nightingale is doing there at head coach, already in 1 year, you see the difference. Scoring goals is just way better for Michigan State this year. They have been so good on the break because they love to skate. Adam Nightingale, he said he wants to make this hockey program like Tom Izzo does with his basketball program. They want to run quick. And me and Jack went on Friday to watch Minnesota versus Michigan State. Obviously not the best of weekend, but Minnesota is just a superior program at the moment with their recruiting and whatnot. But Adam Nightingale is getting those recruits at the moment. Like, it's a process. You can't turn around an entire hockey program in 1 year and be Big Ten champs,
Oh, yeah. Minnesota's that's just a different beast, but I thought they held their own for a while there. I was very pleased for a good portion. Obviously, Minnesota ran away with it towards the end there. But this program, that was my first MSU hockey game in person watching, and it was definitely exciting. And it was, like you said, there's a very fast-paced team.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hold on to the puck too long. Everything was just go, go, go. And then they didn't get the win, but I'm excited for this game against Michigan.
Yeah. Is there something you would pitch? Obviously, that was your first hockey game that we went to on Friday. Is there something you would tell people to make them go to MSU hockey games more?
Yeah, I think what people don't realize about hockey games mostly the student body, is that, the student section still packs. It's,
right.
Look, we weren't in the student section. We had our own seats, but it looked like a blast. I mean, looks like it could be just as fun as basketball games.
Yep.
And I think that, there needs to be, more students going to the games and representing this team, because in a few years you best be watching out for MSU hockey.
I know, I fully believe it. And some guys that have been massive for Michigan State, Daniel Russell, he's a transfer. Michigan State he's got 18 points. He leads the Spartans. Carson Dorwart, he's on the first line for Michigan State as well. Jagger Joshua, he's been here for a minute, but he's been making his presence felt as well. And Dylan St. Cyr in front of the net has been phenomenal. Besides, last weekend was a rough one because just some poor defense and whatnot. But I fully expect Michigan State to come out and be fully prepared Friday and Saturday. Saturday they do travel to Yost Arena, which is something I like. It's kind of a split where you get to see both sides in the same weekend, which you don't see with usually other series. But for Michigan State, obviously a big one. Versus Michigan, you make a statement win because the Wolverines are a top 10 team and once again really good. Then that's just once again showing how Adam Nightingale is making his presence felt with this hockey team. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I want to move on and make it's not really an announcement, but a remark that Michigan State has taken down Penn State 67-58. The Spartans snapped their 2-game skid. Obviously, they fell to Notre Dame last week and then fell in just a really tough game to Northwestern. They had a much better second half, and their defense didn't look so hot in the first half, but the second half really turned it around. They didn't allow a field goal to Penn State in the last 2 minutes and 47 seconds. I think, obviously, we all miss Malik Hall, don't get me wrong, and that takes a minute to adjust. But when you got guys like A.J. Hoggard, Joey Hauser, Tyson Walker shooting lights out like they did tonight. A.J. Hoggard, he had 23 points. Joey had 12, and Tyson had 14. Those are all really good stats. And if they can do that consistently, because the big problem with the Northwestern game was Tyson Walker got into foul trouble, had to sit out chunks of the game because of that. And you could just really tell that he was being missed because he is that quarterback of the offense as well as AJ. And you need both those guys out there at running point in order to fully succeed as this team this year.
Yeah. I mean, what we've seen recently, kind of this on this little skid, thankfully it's broken, is sort of more small ball being played. And like you said, those two guys, Walker and Hoggard, have been huge in that regard, but there's only so much you can do with just those two guys. At some point, you're going to need a roster with a little more depth, and they're doing all they can without Malik there. I think that Akins coming back has been huge. Obviously, him coming back, getting this win. And Pierre has absolutely stepped up the last few games as well in that role, coming in, getting some more minutes. So just looking at the future, hopefully Malik will be back before, is it Buffalo?
Yeah, so, the report on him, and I talked to Izzo yesterday, is that the hope is that he can get his feet wet, quote-unquote, from Tom Izzo before the game before Christmas. If not, then it would just have to be the game after. That's just how it's going to go. They're still in a waiting process because he's got to heal up, and then the doctors are going to reevaluate, and then we'll figure out from there. But Tom told him that he needs to get in the pool because the biggest thing for Jaden Akins, obviously it's great to have him back in the lineup and whatnot, but he's just not physically conditioned the same way as the other guys out there because obviously when you have a walking boot on, you can't be running all over the place and everything like that. So it's about getting Akins back to that same level, getting Malik healthy, and then you're starting conference play. Well, you already started conference play, but you're back into conference play after the break. Nebraska, Michigan, and it just keeps getting even harder from there. But those are the two ones to start off. And obviously you dropped a tough one against Northwestern, but tonight was a big win because you go to Penn State, which is a much better Nittany Lions squad than we're honestly used to. A very experienced team as well. Izzo talked about there's 5 fifth-year guys on Penn State, and that we saw that with Northwestern. There's experience because Michigan State not quite there experience-wise, but they really proved today this was just a massive win all the way around.
Oh, yeah. And you're always running the gauntlet in the Big Ten. It's always a tough schedule. So just coming back and kind of regrouping with a win like this is absolutely huge after a couple games skid there.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a tough schedule so far, obviously. I mean, Notre Dame, Oregon, even our opponents that weren't ranked, like those two, and Kentucky and all that.
Right.
It's been absolutely brutal, but we've proven that when fully healthy, we can be the best of the best.
Yeah.
So I think right now I'm very optimistic for the rest of the season. We'll see going back into Big Ten play, like you said, Nebraska, Michigan, how we look going from there. Hopefully Malik's feeling healthy, and
yeah.
I think we'll have a lot more confidence once he's back.
Right. I definitely agree with that. And defensively, too, Malik really makes a difference. Obviously, he scores chunks of points, as always, and he's up there for points per game for Michigan State. But defensively, that's the biggest thing that Michigan State misses him for. Moneyball Pierre Brooks, he can shoot the three, but he can't defend quite as well as Malik Hall. And getting him back defensively is just so massive. And Izzo said last night, or 2 nights ago actually, he said, don't be mad at the team, be mad at him for the schedule. And that was a big thing as well. Obviously, he really stacked the schedule, and now Michigan State is fully through that first chunk of the schedule that was really hard, that we dictated. You had to go on the aircraft carrier, play Gonzaga. You lost to them by 1 point. You beat Kentucky. You beat Oregon. You came out of the PKI tournament 2-1. Obviously, you dropped a tough one to Notre Dame and Northwestern, but this was a big win. Now you're 1-1 in conference play. You get a little bit of a break in Brown and Buffalo and Oakland. I fully expect Michigan State to win all those games. And then Nebraska. Hopefully that's a win. That's at home. And then Michigan. That's really where things really ramp up. That's when you find out what this team is. And conference-wise, you're going to have a lot of time to prepare for it because Tom talked about it. You had, I forget how many games it was in so many days, but it was an insane number, and it's really going to slow down now. So that's going to allow Michigan State to, I guess, reevaluate. What did they not do so hot, and what did they do awesome, and really work from there. And that's why I fully believe in this Michigan State team. And I think the biggest thing, and a great comparison that Tom made with the loss to Malik Hall, was that Xavier Henderson, when they lost him in football, it was like it was all about the fact that he was the leader, he was the veteran there, and defensively they weren't the same. And now you're seeing that with Malik Hall. But
guys who are big in the locker room, it cannot be understated how big or overstated how big of a loss that is.
Right.
So we saw that now, what kind of impact he had going in. It was actually, I was interested to see when he was out how this team reacts, and now we just see how big of a player that Malik Hall is for this program.
Yeah, I mean, and he has been massive. I want to put some numbers to it. Michigan State has faced the 4th toughest slate of opposing offenses in the country and the 8th overall strength of schedule, according to KenPom.com. I think that just shows how tough this Michigan State schedule was. And you know what? It made them better from it.
I'm honestly surprised we're not number 1.
There was Gonzaga was up there too. They played a hard schedule. But either way, it was about finding out how quickly your team is. And I really liked the performance against Kentucky because it was so gritty and going to double overtime. You know, it really showed
it felt It felt like a March Madness game. It felt
did.
like that game was in March. That kind of energy, the back and forth, the final play call, or one of the final plays that Izzo drew up, where I believe it was Hogard ran back out of bounds. It just felt like something you'd see when everything was on the line.
Right.
And it, like you said, it just absolutely showed that this team is capable of those big wins. It's just the consistency.
Right.
And getting back on track.
Yeah, and you know what? Coach Izzo, over the offseason, Draymond Green came in and talked to, well, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and in his induction speech, he talked about that Tom Izzo has rediscovered that fire. And you saw that in the recruiting class. You're going to see it in multiple recruiting classes following that, because it's so massive getting that momentum from that major recruiting class, because those guys are playing with other guys that are high recruits through their teams and whatnot in the leagues that they play in, and they're like, hey, Michigan State, I want to check that place out. I want to go visit there. And you know what? When you do, you're going to see the atmosphere of the Breslin Center, because when we played Villanova, Tom Izzo admitted that was the first time he felt like the Breslin Center was finally back to normal in 5 years. And he said, there's COVID and all that stuff like that, but that game was awesome,
Unreal atmosphere, being in the student section for that. One of the better game, if not the best game I've attended, in the lower bowl at least.
Right.
And yeah, I completely agree with them. It felt like we were back.
It was like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. And Michigan State, when they are fully clicking, when they're back to the way they were in the 2010s, and I fully believe that they will get there with the recruiting class for basketball coming in, and then when you get those guys another year under their belts as well, like Cohen Carr, Garrick Norman, and all those guys like that, and this team is going to be dangerous, man. It's going to be so good.
You're talking about championships.
Jeremy Fears as well, getting comms to Cassius Winston, kind of the impact as well, leadership-wise. He was the guy that made this recruiting class happen, and obviously Xavier Booker is going to be a massive impact, but he probably will only stay for 1 year. Those other guys, I expect to stay multiple years, because that's what Michigan State is. And Tom Izzo, you give him a couple of years, he's going to turn you into a great player. We saw it with Gabe Brown. He had his best year last year.
Oh, yeah.
Arguably.
By far.
Malik Hall. That's a guy that, you know what, he was pretty good. Now I think he's honestly great when he's on the floor. Tyson Walker's really balling out. AJ Hogard, freshman year, I didn't love to see him getting that much playing time because he was okay. He has gotten dramatically better. Pierre Brooks looks better shooting the ball as well.
The type of player that Joey Hauser has turned into.
Correct.
I think he came in and he faced a lot of pushback and a lot of adversity here at Michigan State, and he just, over the years, proved everyone wrong, and he's turned into an absolute stud out there.
I definitely agree.
He matched all the expectations coming in when he transferred here as a guy who can stretch the floor, and he's turned right into that.
Yeah, and Madi Sissoko earlier in the year, he struggled the past couple games, but you saw a major difference with him as well. And
his impact can't be understated.
Yeah.
Or overstated again. But big dude on the court, and we saw him against Gonzaga.
Right.
Kind of his coming out game, and I was very impressed with him, and he's been fantastic.
And Jackson Kohler, same thing. Can you imagine what this kid's going to be like in 2-3 years from now? Like, if he sticks here, stays with the process, I think he can fully be a really good guy. And I'm excited for him, as well as all the other guys Michigan State has. Trey Hallman, I expect him to get as good as well. And Jane Akins, next year, I think he's going to be a baller once again.
Yeah, I think he might even be our best player. Some people were saying he might be our best player this year.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of high praise here at Michigan State, and
he's just got to get healthy.
Yeah,
and that's obviously the biggest thing. And he's not fully conditioned, and Izzo talked about that. He's just got to get there. When he does, this kid is going to be absolutely scary, and he's the most humble guy out there as well. Hogard, he was 8 for 16 at the field, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. The fact that Joey Hauser as well, he had 15 rebounds tonight. That's impressive. That is really, really impressive to see that from Joey Hauser. And when he has to run at the 5, the guys he's going up against, like Kofi Coburn, he's in there getting physical with them. He is not afraid to back a guy down in the post.
He does more than just stand his ground against those kind of guys.
Right.
And especially this year.
No, he does. And Joey, a guy that when he first started here, and obviously there was COVID and whatnot, and that was really tough, but he had his struggles mentally. It seemed like he wasn't there sometimes, and with his confidence as well. You saw him passing up wide open shots. Now this is a Joey Hauser that is fully confident in my eyes. And I think that makes him absolutely dangerous when he is shooting the ball confidently, because Tom Izzo, every press conference last year, he'd say his best practice shooters, Max Christie, Joey Hauser. And right now, Joey Hauser is proving why he's the best practice shooter.
Oh, he's not just the best practice shooter anymore.
Right, he's transitioning it to a game. But do you have anything else to add? I mean, that's pretty much it for me.
No, I think you pretty much summed it up.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a Michigan State fan, a lot to be excited for in the future. MSU hockey as well. They are recruiting some great guys. Not quite getting the same guys that they would get from that the Michigans and Minnesotas are getting, but they're getting close. Adam Nightingale, you got to prove to those guys that you can create a winning program, and believe me, they're going to come here because Nightingale has a really good resume. And if you have the time, go out. Michigan State, Munn Ice Arena. Be there Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or tune in. It's on Big Ten Network as well. Just show some love and support for your MSU Spartans. Obviously, football, basketball, they get their support, but give the sports like hockey their love as well. And I think if you give them a chance, they're really going to show you what they are. And MSU basketball, big win tonight against Penn State, 67-58, your final score there. Getting the win on the road. Now they get some easier games, and that finally that hard schedule, the beginning part of the schedule is over. They're going to get a little bit of a break. And for football, it's all about the portal. They are going to get guys in the portal. You better trust that.
And Dante Moore.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would love, Dante, I would love for you to come here.
Dante, if you come to Michigan State, you can come on this show.
Oh, wow. We will. You know what? I bet you Brian can make that happen. 1,000%. We will get, if Dante commits here, let's get him on SD4L. We'll make that happen. Thank you so much for listening tonight. Michigan State. If you're a Michigan State fan, stay positive. Like Chief of Propaganda, showing how positive you can be. Follow him on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I am Owen Ozis, that's Jack Kajowski, and you've been watching the SD4L show here in Birmingham, Michigan.
Please close your eyes, turn around, and count to 9. When you open them,